validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And we managed to make it through a pretty decent Friday night. Didn't have as much to do today, but I did start quite a bit late. I was actually working on the enchiladas, and we had a pretty interesting time with it because it still takes a few hours to get it done. It's not a 20-minute recipe, even with the ingredients still in play. So it took me a little bit of a time, but I was able to bring you a plate to the show today. So once we get started, you'll be able to see this one actually, because we grabbed the wrong size tortilla. So ended up making burritos this time instead of mini tortillas or like small taco kind of things. So we're going to be showing you that later in the show. Make sure as you guys come in that you like and subscribe, and also utilize those reaction buttons as you see them on the screen. Show some support to the channel. And you can always show some extra support to the channel if you were to donate something special, like special emojis, special comments that'll stream on the show live. And any contributions that goes to the channel helps the channel a lot with providing you guys with all the information that you're about to receive today. And note that we are live 7 nights a week. Typically, we start about an hour ago. every night of the week, roughly about 45 minutes ago, because we typically come a tad bit late. But we are supposed to be live every night of the week around about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we do not let the sun rise without going live. So even if we're late, we're definitely coming through. So we try to make sure that we get it in and make it do what it do. So noting that today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different than the personal improvement. It is a form of individual development, but this is going to be more towards your long-term goals. And this is something that you need to start focusing on now. So with the changes that have been happening in the country as it impacts us over the next couple of days, I thought that it'll be a good time to cover it now, since it is kind of going to be a good topic of discussion for today. So today we're going to be talking about wealthy individuals needing a second passport in 2025. And we've coupled that with the U.S. laws that have just been enforced since 2005 that is going to be requiring us to have real IDs. We're going to be talking about what those are, what they look like, and how to go about getting them. In addition, we're going to be talking about the pluses that you can benefit from having additional identification beyond your regular state ID or driver's license. And we'll be going into some of the financial benefits of that as well. This is important for personal life, family life, the protection of your kids, educational opportunities, travel opportunities, real world opportunities. And also what we're going to be touching base on today is some countries that you can have dual citizenship in that will also be tax exempt states where they're not going to tax you, or tax exempt countries where they're not going to tax you on your incomes. So that's going to be beneficial for you as well. So stay tuned throughout the shows. We're going to be going over all of this information. If you guys are interested in popping into the show, you can click the link in the comment section, approve the mic, approve the camera. And once you do, you will be on the show in real time. And we bring you up onto the show as long as you're over the age of 18, or at least presumably looking that way. Your comments and behavior and appearance must be reasonably appropriate. So be careful about that, because we do got some jitterbugs on here that do come through trying to learn something while clowning around. So even though this is an adult channel where you guys we will be talking about some adult content, you will also be experiencing some individuals that come in that might not be quite ready to hear what we're about to say. So keep your comments in the comment section appropriate as well. Beyond that, we can go ahead and dive right into it. We've got about a good hour to 2 hours worth of show set up for you. I want to do a special shout out to Red Void, Omni81, Danny Steffen, Mr. Pibbs. Bayside should be popping in soon. Mr. Satellite should be dropping in soon as well. Nico, Ruderus, and a few others that you will see at the top of the screen for those fans that we give us some special shout outs to. And I guess that will cover my morning announcement for today. So, likewise, there's another thing I just thought about. We actually did a nice mixture because we had got the rosé. We didn't get the Vino Cato yet. I'm waiting on her to send the bottle and adjust the app. But we took some rosé, mixed it with a little orange juice, and made us somewhat of I guess they usually call those like mojitos or like Arnold Palmer's first thing in the morning kind of things. But that's going along with the rest of the dinner that we have prepared for today. So once we get rolling and the guys start falling in, I'll be able to show you what that plate looks like. But who here has ever wondered why it really takes a good second? Why and what does it really take to get a good passport, and why we got to have that, and whether it's truly a game changer for the wealthy individuals in 2025 and for those of us that are trying to make ourselves wealthy in 2025. Well, tonight I'm diving headfirst into that very challenge. Together we'll explore if a second passport is just a status symbol or if it is because this will become an absolute necessity for those who want a secure and free existence with their assets and a free lifestyle in a world that is changing faster than ever. Let's face it, for affluent individuals, not the impoverished, the stakes are higher than ever before. Politics have upheaval, rising taxes, and travel restrictions are no longer distant headlines. They're real challenges that hit close to home. Imagine waking up to sudden government changes, scrambling to protect your assets, or finding your travel options severely limited. That's the new reality for many. And it's why a second passport is now seen as a vital safety net, not just a luxury. So, what does a second passport actually offer? Well, for starters, it unlocks global mobility. Think visa-free travel to over 140 countries if you pick the right program. It's also a ticket to economic and political stability, access to a bigger healthcare and education, and yes, potentially significant tax advantages. For business owners, it's a means that a lot of us need to explore. And this also means easier expansion into new markets and more flexibility to move capital, invest internationally, and protect your wealth in turbulent times. Now, imagine this. It's May 7th. That's like 5 days from now, 2025. And you're heading to the airport for your flight, but suddenly you're stopped at security. Why? Because the rules have changed. Starting on May 5th, every adult flying within the United States must show a real ID compliant driver's license or another approved ID like a US passport, military ID, or a DHS trusted traveler card. Look for the star in the upper corner of your license. That is your ticket through the TSA checkpoints. Now, don't have a real ID or one of those alternatives, you could face long delays, extra screening, or even be turned away and miss your flight entirely. The TSA might try to verify your identity another way, but there's no guarantee you'll make it to your gate. This new rule is all about air travel and certain federal buildings. So if you're hopping on a train, bus, or driving across state lines, your regular ID still works. But for flights, it's real ID or bust. Heads up though, children under 18 don't need a real ID if they're flying with an adult, but every adult in your group does. So, who's checked their license for that gold star? Who's already made their DMV appointment or is still scrambling for one? Share your status in the chat. And if you got questions about what counts as an acceptable ID, drop them in the comments below as well. And let's make sure no one here gets stuck at security this summer. But let's make this a conversation, because in today's world, the question isn't whether you can afford a second passport, but whether you can afford to be without one. Now, most police officers accept a US passport card as valid ID if you are asked to identify yourself, especially if you are not driving. If you are operating a vehicle, you are typically required to present a valid driver's license, not a passport card, as proof of your legal authorization to drive in commerce, considering the fact that most of us do not have the mindset to travel in commerce because we only do things personally. Technically, we're not supposed to be requiring that, but because they're basically hunting down all individuals that are not registered with the country, they are doing an identification check on all citizens that travel at least by plane. Now, stop and identify laws across the country require you to identify yourself, and you can do that in one of two ways. You can verbalize your identity, and they ask you more intrusive questions than the law requires because they only really need your name and your birthday. They do not need your social security number, your physical address, your phone number, your email, none of that information. When they collect all that extra information, it becomes public record when they post their reports, because their reports are public record, and that puts your personal information out there. Now, they're only required your first and last name and your date of birth in order to identify you. If you have had negative encounters with them in the past, that's pretty much all you're going to need for them to pull you up in their system, get a mugshot, and have all of your priors on the main screen. They don't need to get any other information outside of if you are making testimonial claims that you are headed towards your house and they want to know what your house is, and your physical address on your driver's license is nowhere near the city or state where you're currently communicating with an officer. That would be problematic, because one or two things is going on. You're either lying or you're in a situation where you have failed to update your identification within a reasonable period of time, and that could lead to citations and higher fines. Now, passport cards are a benefit, and they're being sold partnered with a passport book. And if you pay for expediting processing, you can get all that stuff done in little to no time flat. Now, the passport card does not show your address or state of residence. So in situations where proof of state residency is required, such as certain legal processes, firearm purchases, or some specific checks, some state specific checks. So if you're writing a check that is supposed to be issued in or by a local resident, so if you're supposed to be writing a local residential check, or if you're supposed to be writing it as a local entity, then that requires you to show in-state identification. But beyond that, it's not necessary. Now, there is ID may be necessary in addition to your passport card in some of those situations, but we have all been trained to ask for driver's licenses because everyone gets one, or most people get one after a certain age. And the laws does not allow you to have a state ID and a passport, which is crazy. So here's one of the things that I've been able to experience. If for any reason you have more than one resident in more than one state, your primary residency is supposed to be on your driver's license. Your secondary residencies are not. Your state ID issued by a state that is not your primary driver's license typically prefers to convert your driver's license from the former state to the current state. Not sure why. Well, they want to keep track of you. That is why, but I don't see why that's important. However, back in the day, you were allowed to have one driver's license with the primary address on it and one state ID for every other address in every other state that you have. The DMV actually started adding alternative addresses to the primary driver's license, such as if you have a physical address, but you collect mail at a post office box or stuff to that effect, they would put that in there in the record, where the second address would only be pulled up if somebody ran your name in the system. But if they're just looking at the ID card only has the primary physical address. Now, they don't need to know where you live if they're engaging you out in the street for any ridiculous reason. However, it is a scenario where if they ask you for your ID and you're not just going to tell them who you are and show them the ID without letting them handle the ID, if you're going to hand over something, you hand over the passport card, because it gives them the only thing they're legally required to ask for is your first and last name and your date of birth. No other information about you is on the card. What city and state you live in, where were you born, what house you live at now. None of that information is relevant. But to respect those laws that demand stop and identify, which is less intrusive than stop and frisk, fact is, having a passport card on file, on hand, is more beneficial, because if you are forced to provide identification, visible physical identification, you can provide them with something that gives them the least amount of information. And that benefits you and protects your personal privacy, especially when you're not truly involved in a crime. You're just being unnecessarily interrogated or wrongfully interrogated in some situations, and that puts you in a position that compromises your safety. So it is best in those situations to comply and hand them the passport card. Now, truth, that doesn't work with your driver's license. But if this isn't a traffic stop where you were operating a motor vehicle before you became in contact with the police officer, if they're talking to you while you're on a sidewalk or whatever, in a restaurant or whatever, then of course, if you're going to give them an ID, you give them a state ID. Make it a habit. Every phone company, every bill collector, every entity that wants an ID card, because back in my day, we used to have two forms of physical ID. So the state issued driver's license and a federally issued passport would be the best way to have two forms of photo ID. Then over time, they allowed student identification, work employment identification, and now anything with your face on it is good in situations with identifying who you are, as long as it has your legitimate government first and last name on it, which means that whatever document that you hand them, they can verify. But if it has any other information on it that you don't want them to exploit, like if you have a identification card from the school that your kid works at, now they know where your kid goes to school. If you hand them an ID card from the job, now they know where you go to work. So which means that they could pop up at those places inconveniently. So passport card only has your first and last name and the card number. That's it. Nothing else. Now, the demand for second passports among Americans has exploded in 2025. According to Arthur Capital, there has been a 400% increase in U.S. clients seeking second citizenship in just the first 3 months of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. Latitude Group, another major advisory firm, reports that requests from Americans for second citizenship or residency have surged by 1,000% since 2020, and a trend that started with COVID-19 pandemic and only has accelerated with recent political changes introduced the industry estimating suggestion that out of approximately 10,000 global applicants for a second passport in recent years, about 4,000 have come from U.S. citizens, and dramatic rise in the American share of this global trend. Yeah. specifically because some of these bad boys out here trying to swing that sovereign nation ain't flying. Because when you're not from around here, they don't really have much motivation to respect they don't have enough motivation to respect the law when you are a citizen. But when you're not a citizen and you can't prove that you are a citizen, they put more effort into violating any rights that you thought you had. So swinging that sovereign nation might be a plus, but it might be a minus. Depends on what kind of lifestyle you live. The 2024 U.S. presidential election, especially with Donald Trump's return to office, has fueled concerns about political division and instability. Many affluent Americans see a second passport as a plan B to hedge against sudden policy changes or social unrest. Now, high net worth individuals are the affluent, and they are increasingly worried about rising taxes, tariffs, and other overall costs of maintaining their lifestyle in the U.S. A second passport can open doors to countries with more favorable tax regimes or lower living costs. While the U.S. passport is powerful, it doesn't offer seamless access everywhere. For example, travel to China, Russia, and certain Middle Eastern countries can be difficult for Americans to contrast a European Union passport, and they provide a visa-free or visa on arrival access to all Schengen area. Oh, is that Schengen? Schengen area countries, and often to more than 180 countries worldwide, where the Caribbean passport, like those from St. Kitty and Naive or Grenada, offer visa-free access to the United States. Now, as they also offer assistance and visa-free requirements for the UK and the EU and even China and Russia in some cases, many countries with citizenship by investment programs offer higher quality, affordable care, sometimes at a fraction of U.S. costs. For example, Americans live in Costa Rica report short wait times and direct access to doctors, which is a stark contrast to the U.S. system. So for families and second passport holders, this can mean access to prestigious European universities with much lower tuition fees than in the U.S. Now, I got to tell you, that was a lot of rock and ride. But we got more to do. If you ever dreamed of holding a second passport, you're not alone. Europe is the number one destination for America's on the hunt, which means that you guys could find what you're looking for, but since this is a situation where you're not alone, while you're looking for this golden ticket, and right now, Italy, Portugal, and Europe, Spain are leading the charge after the 2024 election period. And the interest in Portugal absolutely skyrocketed thanks to its super attractive golden visa program and a clear, achievable path to citizenship. So imagine investing as little as, say, $50,000. and spending just 7 days a year in Portugal. And after 5 years, you're eligible for a European passport. Well, Italy is a favorite for anyone with uh, with their roots and their family citizenship by ancestry. While Spain and Portugal both roll out the red carpet for investors with their golden visa programs. Well, I tell you what, that is a lot of work. And this is not as long as yesterday's. Maybe because I'm a tad bit burnt out, I'm trying to swing for the fences here. But maybe Europe isn't your style. So if you're after a second passport that comes with zero personal income taxes, the Caribbean is calling you to get one right now today. If you check out some of these islands and nations that will independently provide you guys with a registered flag, these are some of the countries that we're going to talk about. So with St. Kitts and Naive, you have no personal income tax, dual citizenships allowed, and you can secure citizenship by investment starting at $250. Well, that's how some people get rich. Now, Antigua and Barbuda have no taxes on worldwide income. Wow, that's impressive. And dual citizenship and straightforward investment rules. In Dominica, zero tax on foreign income, cooperation, or capital, plus no estimate or whether taxes deal. Citizenship is welcome here. Wow. I know Bayside told me I needed to take a nap on the show. Now, Grandma St. Lucia. I'm sorry, Grenda and St. Lucia, where both are offering no taxes on worldwide income due to citizenship and accessible investment programs. And that's actually a pretty decent one. Halfway there, muscle through it with us. Make sure that you like and subscribe as you're popping in. Now you have no income or capital gains tax and dual citizenship together. Through some restrictions for the born Bahamas, and others are dealing with the instability. So we're going to be working on the stability of why is this mattering to you? Boy, a second passport isn't just a travel perk, it's a powerful tool for global mobility, wealth protection, and even tax planning. Allows a Caribbean citizenship. That could mean no personal income or capital gains or inherit tax for residents. But remember, tax exemptions take a little bit of time. Oh boy. Now, also remember that this is going to take time with planning, because when you've got a flying car and your kid knows how to steer the steering wheel, they're probably going to take the car out for a fly. So you want to move to a new current scenario that can trigger now new information with the father. The tax rules will allow you to get expert advice, and yeah, it's something that look, I had lost my place. I was sitting over here wondering what was I at? This is that pressure. So let's hear from the fans. Who's got their eye on moving to a different country like Europe for the culture or lifestyle, and EU, the access of, major basic resources? And who's tempted to buy the Caribbean, sun sand, and tax-free living? Well, drop your dream in destinations in the chat, and let's talk about what makes these countries stand out for you. Now, this one is a little bit different because we got picks for passports in 2025, and I've been telling my siblings to get them in. They don't listen, so I just leave them be. But an entrepreneur facing an economic storm in his home country, he would probably get his arguments addressed before anything else happens. Now, economic storm is viably taking over certain areas of the country, but instead of going under financially, it simply packs the bags, flashes the second passport, and faces relocation, keeping his business not just afloat, but thriving in a new market. And that's crazy. So imagine an American who secured EU citizenship with a student loan there. The kid has to pay for, that's a good question, access to the worldwide entrepreneurial universities, or at a play, they'll be tackling some long division. All right. So we're moving past the power of the second passport that's gone into action, because these aren't just isolated cases. You got to check out the eye-opening numbers, and these numbers are crazy. Real quick, though, now that we're kind of all in, make sure that the juices aren't running. We've got that gigantic burrito that I was telling you about. It was supposed to be a enchilada, but grabbed the wrong size tortilla, so now it is a gigantic burrito. So in the first quarter of 2025, U.S. applicants for the second passport had skyrocketed by 400%, and since 2022, it has shifted by over 1,000. So you're not going to be getting as much back on some of your returns if your returns are with that particular company. But hey, I went and got some Reefs that don't talk to their players unless they're playing the money, so it's whatever. Europe, especially Italy, Portugal, and Spain, is at the top of the list for Americans seeing new opportunities and access. So where are we? Kidney beans. So, oh boy, I probably should have made myself a massive cup of coffee instead of grabbing that juice. This is back to that burnout mode. Still operating on like 4 to 6 hours worth of sleep. I find myself drowsy from time to time. Then I got to wake myself back up. Now, Caribbean passports are opening doors across the world with over 140 countries visa free, including hotspots like the UK, Schengen area, Singapore, and even China and Russia for some nationalities. And let's not forget, a second passport can mean better healthcare and access to elite education. Whew, I had to crack my back. That felt better. So let's turn it over to you. Who here has considered a second passport? You guys can comment in the comment section on Twitter, and so can you guys also comment on the comment section in Twitch. What was your main motivation for security, levels, taxes, or something else? If you can use a second passport to unlock new business opportunities, give your kids a global education on their simple travels, and the child will not effectively fear the school. Now, being able to travel as an adult with a mini violin or something to that effect, you'll be able to get through a lot of the restrictions in certain countries from bringing large items into their country that have not been government approved. So, which destination would you guys choose? Drop your answers for that in the countryside as well. And in the chat, we should be able to walk through some more issues. Now, we just covered, I got to tell you, I'm in the midst of, doing some jumping jacks and trying to relive the energetic moments of the day. But as we get started, we're going to go ahead and touch base with those. Let's start by getting some stretches in. So, oh, that's where we're supposed to be going. Oh, wrong spot.
Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground.
And that's how I get my 30 seconds to get a second wind. Oh, I didn't even think of that. He asked me for Mr. Satellite asked me for one of those, and I was like, shoot, I could have gave him one of them. I could have just threw that up there. I didn't think. Now that I'm thinking about it, there it is. But whoa. We've got some breaking news that we're going to be bringing to you guys. Not too many people are paying attention to it. Picture this. You've just landed. You're tired, the way I'm burnt out right now, and maybe a little jet lag. And suddenly, bam, you're in the crosshairs of some of the craftiest scammers out there. Now, these folks aren't just after your money, they're after your peace of mind. But they're together, we're going to expose their tricks and learn how to stay one step ahead of them. So make sure that you guys stick around if you want to know more about which programs are best in 2025 with getting your passports. Now, these folks aren't just after what you think they're after. Because, I mean, they could be coming after your money, but they could be also coming after one of your kidneys. Find yourself waking up in a bathtub looking like Brian after he forgot to pay Stewie. But if you're at the arrival gates and a taxi driver waves you over, promising a ride for half the price of the official cabs, as tempting as that sounds, you got to start asking yourself some questions. Because here's the catch. That driver could take you on a wild goose chase, or worse. Some even have fake badges and logos to look legit. So if you've ever had a close call with a fake taxi, drop a car emoji in the chat. Doesn't matter if you're on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube. You drop it, we'll see it. Now, who's ever needed to exchange currency at the airport? You spot a booth with a too good to be true rate, but hidden fees and sleight of hand tricks mean you walk away with less than you bargained for. Or maybe while you're distracted, your wallet disappears. If you've ever been shortchanged, type some kind of currency emoji, the flying dollars, the money bags, throw an emoji in the chat. And then there are the friendly helpers. They offer to carry your bags or show you the way, but their real goal, you have no idea what it is. If you knew that their real goal was to get close to you, close enough to swipe your valuables, or create a distraction for their partner in crime to help them with swiping your valuables. If you had a stranger get a little too friendly, let's see a briefcase emoji in the comment section. Now, here's the good news. The more you know, the safer you'll be. By staying sharp and knowing these scams, you can travel with confidence and keep your adventures worry-free. Now, I've told you guys plenty of times before to not only come out there with extra identification in different locations, so if one of your luggage items gets stolen, you still have a backup. I've been telling you guys to have a second dummy wallet in a primary pocket where your regular wallet would normally be expected to be as a tourist, and then have your actual wallet in a different location, whether it be tucked into your high top boots or anything to that effect, where individuals, if they did try to take advantage of your situation, they would less likely get their hands on the one that's not yours, or the one that doesn't have anything in it. So who's ready to share their own airport scam stories? Or maybe you've got a tip to help the rest of us stay safe. Drop your experiences and advice in the comments. If you have ever wanted even more travel safety hacks, stick around, because we'll be throwing those up in coming shows. Now, I've got plenty more to share in the next segments, and I want to hear from you guys. And if you have ever considered getting a second passport, and what was holding you back, or what motivating you to go and do it now versus back in the day when it was first addressed, I want to hear from you guys as well. So put your thoughts in the chat, or throw an emoji in the comment section with a hand up, and let's talk about the best countries that you can strategize for securing a all important plan B. And if you're curious about which programs are leading the pact in 2025, stick around for my next segment where we're going to be talking about those. So we've got a lot of things that we're going to be covering coming soon, since we've got a lot of changes that's going to be happening. But you tell me, with the government's crackdown on citizenship in the United States, having mandatory identification all over the country, as long as you're not traveling by bus or car, you'll find yourself in a situation where you will be requiring some kind of identification. So it's better, and it would be good for you to go and get one sooner rather than later, because passports last for 10 years and U.S. driver's license nowadays lasts for like 8 years. So between the two, you'll find yourself in a situation where you're updating identification every other year. But even if your license gets suspended and they take your driver's license, you still got your passport, which means you still got valid identification to go and get your hardship license. So there's a lot of benefits from going and getting your license, or updating your license information for those of you who have already gotten a license. Beyond that, today's late breaking intermission, that's pretty much all we had for you guys for today. I want to say thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. And ladies, if you as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, there's 75% of y'all on the channel. I really appreciate y'all coming to the show. I'm your host, Xander. This is a male-driven podcast from the male perspective. And this and that, we're going to be talking about this, that, and everything in between. So as I said before, I appreciate you guys coming, and I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night, where we're going to be talking about something extra interesting. So stay tuned. Also make note, any comments that are thrown up onto the show after or during the outro will be showed up on the screen. So hang out, enjoy the music, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you very much.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground.